So Raymond, does this
Hold on.
specimen?
Hold on. Give me 1 second. Sade, what do you got?
Oh, it came up in our.
Okay, yeah, hand was up forever.
It came up in our. Can you hear me?
Yep.
It came up in our study session yesterday about what category our name trademark would fall into. You know, they have like generic, suggestive, arbitrary, fanciful. Just if we were asked, what would this be classified as? I'm asking that properly.
I mean, it depends on you. What do you think it falls onto? I wouldn't say your name is generic.
Right, we know it's not generic because then anybody could pretty much use it.
It's descriptive.
Yeah, that's what you
Could be.
said. Descriptive. We just wanted to clarify.
Could be. What does it describe? I mean, Mo's shoes is descriptive. Kind of says it in the name. What does yours describe? Amazing. Could be fanciful. I'd probably go with that. Why? Why would I go with fanciful?
Well, technically, the definition of the fanciful would mean they are invented and have no dictionary meaning.
Shit. And what the hell is a Sade? Make sense? All right. But sometimes names can acquire meanings, right? And they can acquire specific. For example, go Xerox me this document. It almost became a verb.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know.
Go give me a Pepsi.
All right, go get me a Pepsi. Really asking for cola. But that would still be an adjective, wouldn't it? Maybe even a noun. Hey, but go Xerox me this became a verb. That's different. It's different. So it depends. You know? I hope that opened up people's heads. I would go fanciful.
Yeah, and then I also learned that it's the strongest of them all, and you're entitled to the greatest level of protection with the fanciful one.
Amazing.
Awesome.
How do you pronounce that? What are you saying? Defensible?
Like fancy?
Yeah, fanciful. Fancif. Thank you.
Fanciful. Okay, thank you.
But amazing. So now we know how to get a specimen, right? We must have an item that displays on the market the intent of use. Okay, that is your example that you will give to the USPTO. Does that make sense? It better be on whatever market you are trying to do what?
Commerce.
Sell.
Huh?
Sell, which is commerce. Market.
And whatever market that you chose to use that marking to brand.
So with that
And whatever
specimen,
market, hold on, that you chose to brand. Do we get that?
Yeah. Well, whatever
Good.
market you choose to brand.
If it's consulting, You might have an invoice, right? You
Yeah.
might have an invoice, or you might have a website with the logo at the top and the description of the service. Does that make sense? If you have t-shirts, put the goddamn mark on the actual t-shirt and have that display.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Does.
Okay. So whatever product or service that you are soliciting consumption, better have it marking the product or service up on the website for display for consumption. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Good. That is your specimen. Now you can have other specimens in different colors. So you might have red type of mark, blue type of mark, black type of mark. And each time you put in a specimen, consider that another trademark. It could still be under the same umbrella by association, but it will cost you extra.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, to Gambit a process, I guess, what color do you
Black.
think your trademark? Thank you.
Yep,
So the
I'll leave
more
it
color,
black.
so the more color creative you try to be, the more of a financial headache you will give yourself. And that's okay. And here's the deal. If I write the word Nike in fucking Times New Roman, Verdana, hey, pick your script. Now change the color. Do you think that Nike, if I put that on a sneaker, will still get protections for that mark?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
Definitely.
Amazing. So let's not be MacGyver, okay, and just start finger painting over here, okay? Trying to make bombs out of chiclets. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
I saw a video, Raymond, and it showed where you put in the name of your mark, and they're going over how you can cover the variation.
To see, I'm about to address you. Good. They cover every variation. Yeah.
What do you suggest for that?
Hey, it's up to you. But I just gave you how to cover every variation for the cheap and for the low.
Would you repeat it one more time? What's the miss?
Black and white.
Okay.
It works. That's it. Hey, you could use Times New Roman. This is a fact. That's it.
All the legal documents are in Times New Roman, right?
They can be.
It ain't
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah,
matter.
but it has a meaning.
But it ain't gonna matter just as long as they're using the name. I see what you're saying. I'm just gonna do mine basic like you suggested. I'm gonna use Times New Roman. I really appreciate the help on this, Raymond, because I'm gonna get the specimen and that together, and I'll build my trademark next week.
Amazing.
Awesome, Ellen.
Really appreciate y'all's help on this.
Okay. TC, what you got?
Nothing. Did
TC?
anybody hand raise?
Well,
Yeah.
who was asking the other question last time that I cut off?
I think it might
To
be
expand
that's
on the
me.
specimen.
Yeah. EB.
Oh, okay. EB, how you doing?
Yeah, it was
Talk to
EB.
me.
So, got a question on the specimen. I'm having trouble from the USTPO with merchandise on the t-shirt, and what they're saying is that the specimen has to have it on the label, like you know, where it says small, medium, extra large, whatever, on the back side of the shirt, that the mark has to be on that as well. You know, like I have it on the shirt, on the front of the shirt, but then they're saying there's got to be a tag.
Good.
What
So
do you
do that.
Just put a tag on it.
Yeah, it's pretty, a lot of clothing, print places do that. They can combine it, or you can go and have them made up somewhere.
Or you could go to Teespring and it allows you to put as many freaking PNGs onto your item as you want. And you could just slam one right on where the collar section is.
Yeah.
Because
What
a
did you-
PNG is a
what is
vector
that?
file. PNG is a vector file. When you go to Canva, when you render your trademark and you get the clear background version, excuse me, it will be a PNG file.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank
So you
you.
guys did, yeah, because Tupa went over it, right? On how to create the trademark and render it a PNG file. So that type of file is what you need, and just start slamming multiple wherever you on that t-shirt. Tramp stamp the t-shirt. Okay, let me
Yeah.
say this again. Tramp stamp that fucker. Right on
I
the
got
backside.
it. I'll tramp stamp it.
Yeah, now that you say that, because when they said the tag, I was thinking back in the day, all the Harley Davidson t-shirts had official right on the tag. It was sewn in, official Harley Davidson thing. But if you look at that clothing line, George t-shirts, it's stamped, just like you're saying, Raymond, on the back collar. It's right in it. There is no tag. So we can make our t-shirt that way.
Good.
Yeah, George clothing. Next time somebody's in a store, take a look at it. There's a perfect example.
Hmm.
George's t-shirt.
And get some of the soda right quick.
It's a nice cotton shirt too.
Does anybody here feel like they got value out of today's class?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really appreciate you, man.
Good thing I'm sober. And the reason why I'm sober today is because I drank earlier. Then I went to sleep, woke up right before class.
Oh.
Which is partially why I'm pacing back and forth to keep myself awake. These are facts. Had no boxing today.
Right on.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see these fuckers.
I also wanted to thank Goddess for putting together that study group. I'm sorry I missed it last night. I got called away and I couldn't make it. I was bummed because it had been my first one. You'll see me next week.
It's okay. It's recorded.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool. I'm gonna watch it. Thank you so much.
Tuba, what was I doing the other day? I was like this, and you were like, where the hell are you?
Yeah. It's like
I was like,
different angle. I've never seen
yeah,
you.
just a different angle. Don't even sit in those chairs. All right. So anybody ever seen this? That's me in toy form. It's a fact. They did it to mock me. No, they did it to mock me, but they brought two, but like as a joke, but on Christmas. It's one of the best Christmas gifts I've ever got.
Okay.
That's awesome.
All right.
As long as it ain't
So-
no little doll, you're doing good. You stick your
Yeah, the
pins.
mustache. They got the mustache right. It's like this. All right. So we got specimens. Boom. We got the language, right? Directly from the TMEP manual. We got the description for how many trustees, the requirements, and all of the processes that you must follow for the registration as a trustee under the TMEP. 803.03 E. That is your section. What else do we got?
Do we need to do anything different for an NFT?
Hmm.
Well, no, not really, but yeah, but not really, but yeah. Here's the deal. Why is it different for an NFT? If you think about it. Well, because one's going to be digital data, right? So you have to give the specimen like this. Every time somebody says NFT, I think Minecraft.
Me too, actually.
Maybe I'm slow. So yeah, just get your specimen correct. I mean, you might have to just label the asset at the bottom in the description, orienting it, and then create popularity as opposed to just marking it. It depends. I'm not the expert on NFTs, but I know you can do it, or at least create them as a service. Not the
Okay.
expert.
Okay. I've been looking at like ordinals on, I don't know if you've heard of those, but my husband and I created a bunch of them, and that seems to be like a good path.
Let me research it. How to
Okay.
trademark an NFT. Tupa, let's look at it right now.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we got time.
Hmm. Okay. So it says here, how do you trademark an NFT name or property? You trademark the NFT. Oh no, yeah, there is actually a category for those. What?
Okay, good.
NFTs,
There you go. And that's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you can. I just
Yeah, a
Yes.
friend of mine last year was wanted to trademark their NFT, and it was already trademarked on the USPTO. So
what did the NFT look like? Did it look like my toy?
I'm not too
Digital
sure.
version of them?
It was actually Moonverse. That was the NFT, and everything around that name, and it had so many registrations. Yeah. Anyway.
We'll get into the human name versus the registered name, because people could try to register your name, and if you have the human name, Title 15 United States Code Section 1051,
Mm,
you could smoke them. So they can't leave, even if it's a company. They can't have the rights, or at least they would have to do a coexisting agreement or lose their business.
mm.
Yeah, with the human. Fanciful.
So in other
Fanciful.
words, if my name was Eddie Bauer,
You could
they'd have
take
to
away
use some
Eddie
little-
Bauer. Yep, unless Eddie Bauer is really Eddie Bauer.
Mm.
Right.
I haven't heard Eddie Bauer in a very long time. When I was young, I was so poor. I always wanted an Eddie Bauer shirt because all the kids had it in my 6th grade class. And my mom was like, $50 for a shirt? No.
That
And I was
stuff
so,
was
so
everywhere.
sad. Yeah,
I
I was
used to work in
sad.
a salvage yard. Oh, go ahead, Raymond. I'm sorry.
No, you did.
I used to work in a salvage yard. People would come in. Hey, I need a door panel for a Bronco. I'm like, okay, come on back. Man. I'll be, that don't look like mine. That don't look like mine. I'd finally look at them. Do you have an Eddie Bauer edition? Well, yeah. I said, that's a custom interior package, dude. Ain't none of them gonna look like that. But yeah, that's why as soon as you said it, that's what jumped in my mind.
Yeah, Eddie Bauer. We select their clothes. All right, so that's that. All right. So what else do we have for tonight? I think we just murdered class because I'm sober so quickly.
That's funny.
Mhm.
I was thinking of something. We already went over the variations. We covered those. We're doing that. I had another question on the process itself because I looked at it. When we go to file as the trust, we have the specimen, like you said. We already got our image. We have it for sale. We register with the PTO, when we go in and file as a trust, we list all our trustees. Is there anything else we need to do when we're filing that? Or just be self-explanatory? We go
I
through
would
it.
always follow the manual.
Okay.
I'll start there. Once you can recite to me what the manual said in that small section, then I'll tell you what to do as tricks, tips and tricks. Does that make sense?
That sounds fair. Yes. Yep.
I have a question.
Yep.
It probably won't happen today, but sometime in the future, can we have like a mock court case since we're trustees, right? Like as if we were defending the trademark?
Absolutely.
Cool.
That'd be great. I can't wait for that one.
What type of mock court case do you want? A civil suit or an arbitration? Compelling of an arbitration.
Both. So we can learn how to handle all specifics.
Good. Download TC said arbitration. Got it. All right. So here's the deal. Civil suit right now. I want everybody to look up Nike versus Mischief. MSCHF. The pleading is downloadable. But let's talk about it before we read it. Tupa, once you aggregate the pleading, can you put that case right into the chat just so that they can click the link and be able to download it?
Yep, this one, eh?
Amazing. Yeah, look at that shit. All right, so let's kill. Well, can you just scroll down so that they see that you actually have the asset? All right, so I'm just going to tell you what the hell went on, right? If you don't know, you're about to know. And if you didn't know, now you know. So here's the point. This is a very good case, okay, of binding of a non-signatory due to the degradation of a mark. What happened with the Satan sneakers? Anybody here know? Good. So you got this guy, his name is
That dude, I forgot his name, but yeah,
Lil Nas X.
yes.
Amazing. Yeah, he had his ass cheeks in the fucking air and shit, humping on Satan. How about that? Huh? Yeah, he was gay. No worries, he could be gay. But the problem is that he took the 97 Air Maxes and put a drop of human blood inside of them and made the Satan sneakers. Now, that's considered art, right? That's considered free expression. Guess what the Christians did? Started burning them the same way people started burning, started burning, what the fuck is this shit called? With these pedophiles. The hell is that shit? That clothing line?
B starts with yeah.
Yeah, stop buying it.
Balenciaga.
Balenciaga.
Thank you. Thank you. I erased it from my brain. So they started doing that. So what did they do to Balenciaga? Burned them, right? Right? Burned them. Did all that. That's what they did. Then they made a trend out of it. So because you had Lil Nas X create that one sneaker, there was a sneaker created 2 years prior from the same company with supposed real water from the Jordan River. Those were called the Jesus sneakers. So what they did was they canceled both to remain neutral. Does that make sense? But their actual risk mitigation and the cease and desist was sent over the Satan sneakers, and then they retracted the Jesus sneakers. Does that make sense? Now, these were limited edition. They only made 666 of the copy, which sold in the first minute. And people bought them because they caused such a controversy. People kept them and the price inflated. Does that make sense? Mhm. So imagine $200 shoes. You buy it within the first minute, right? And then what happens? Right after that first minute and within the first 24 hours, there's a cease and desist set and those sneakers skyrocket to $1,666. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's your court
Yeah.
case. Now you can read the pleadings. And yes, they settled and did brand control. Are
Mhm.
people still wearing Nikes today?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, here's the cool thing about that case. That case for fucking Nike, it's not a registered trademark.
Yeah, look.
It's a common law trademark. And guess what they pled? They pled the fact that at one time they did have a registration and that Supreme Court precedences as well as like circuit court rulings were already made regarding how that brand should be handled because they've been in court before and they've been going for a while.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So imagine if I said, well, according to, hey, my name is Ramon De Leon with Smooth Operational Law, and according to this Supreme Court case where Smooth Operational Law did this, the court says that. Thank you. I need that service. Does that make sense? Yes or no?
Yep.
Good. Let's read this and then we'll go into the mock, right? Because they're going to talk about 15 USC 1125D, 15 USC 1114, 1117, 1116. They're just going to start hammering away. Okay. So I don't want to get into all those statutes right now because we don't have enough time for that. Not really, we do, but we're about to get into some free flow. But I think that that's pretty, it's pretty free flow right now. So that's what happens on the trademark infringement. Are you happy there, LW?
Kind of, sort of. Like I wanted to actually, I don't know. In my mind, I was, in my mind, I might have been going too crazy. Like in my mind, I wanted to have one of us be the infringing party. Somebody be
You wanted to
like
do
the
a mock trial verbally, right? How can you do,
Yeah.
but you don't know enough of the statutes. And so now I gave you the
Right.
statutes. Once you read this and then you look at the statute, you'll be able to do that, right? For example, like if I asked you what's Title 28, Section 1346, what would you tell me that is?
I don't know.
Tupo, can you find it in the document? It's on the top. It should be establishing the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You got visual? Hold on.
Title
I'm trying not to
28,
look at
13.
what is it? 1367? Or did I say it wrong? 1367. 1331, 1338. Yep. No. I might have said it wrong. I'm just remember I'm slow right now. So we got 15 USC 1051. So that's trademark. Hold on. 1121, which are the damages. 1331. Okay. And 1367. There you go.
Yeah.
There it is. 1367. I made a mistake. Not
And
1364.
then you've got the
1362.
venue, which was
Can you
13,
pull?
28,
Can you?
1391.
But can you give me 1367 for the substantive law? Can you put that into Google? You could carry a screen and put it in Google.
You see
So I
that?
guess a better question.
Supplemental
What are
jurisdiction.
the all?
Do you see it? Hold on. Supplemental. The claim raises a novel or complex issue of state law. So we got some supplemental, right? So like, what are the local laws of the state that you can bring into federal law? And then you have to use things like the Erie Doctrine, which one has a tighter constraint? Can you pull that up, Erie Doctrine? People.
Yeah, how do you spell it again?
ERIE, and then doctrine. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
See it, which is the hierarchy laws. Because you might have a federal law with tighter constraint than the state law, where the state law may permit certain things, but due to the fact that you're in a venue in the federal courts, and because of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, that little fucking building has a concurrent jurisdiction of the state. So how can you monetize more money if the federal law doesn't pay as much as that state's law, or that state's law says that certain things are allowed, but because it's interstate commerce, the appropriate law to raise should be the federal. Does that make sense? And then you have to wait for the other asshole to plead because he might know something you don't and find a legal mechanism that absolves him from that liability under some sort of supplemental law any fucking way. Make sense or not? Does that not make sense? So you're going to ask me to plead this. I'm going to say, let's look at this one first and let's find out how they did. And if we can look at the laws to know what they're supposed to be enforced like, then we can have an intelligent conversation for that mock trial. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
It's 1367, not 1364. And I just got angry because I fucked that up in front of people. This is being recorded.
All good.
Raymond, I just remembered my question when we put this together. When we're putting the trademark together, we file as a trust. We want the trust we create for this. We want it to be an irrevocable trust, right?
Damn right.
Thank you. That's what I thought you said before. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Should I kill screen, or you want to actually go through this? Sade, sorry, I didn't see your hand up there.
It's good. It's all good. So I guess my question would be, what are all of the titles that we should pay attention to in reference to trademark? Is it Title 15 and Title 28 only, or like what are the?
I think if we go through the document, you'll find all the titles that should be really
Here's Title 18.
looked
The
at.
counterfeit trademark. Trademark Counterfeiting Act of 1984. There's a litany of it, but let's look at this first because this is a good way to start for common law.
Okay.
Trademark assertion. So we looked at a common law trademark pleading immediately, right? Yes or no?
Yep.
Okay, good. Why do we start a common law trademark? Because that's the poor man's way to greatness, huh? Anybody disagree with that?
Yep.
Nope.
All right. And so if that's the case, my favorite saying is don't you want to make sure that if somebody infringes on your trademark, that you could give them a good old-fashioned passionate ass whooping where they get their shoes coat and their hat taken? These are just questions. They're just questions.
Beat the bricks off them.
That's right. Put a bag over their head. So, Trademark Counterfeiting Act of 1984. Let's pull that up real quick.
Trademark.
This is where you get customs to put guns in their mouth.
1984?
Yeah, Trademark Counterfeiting Act of 1984. Let's just give them the Wikipedia page. This is the criminality behind trademark. So this is non-civil. Does that make sense?
Why did you do?
Ladies and gentlemen, can you sue somebody for, let's say, for example, a trademark infringement? Can you sue them?
Yes.
Okay. Can it also be criminal? Depending on what they do and how bad it is.
If they keep ignoring the cease and desist, like in a courtroom, they're committing a felony, right?
It could be.
Thank you.
Why how come I never mentioned so much the criminality in the class? That's the key point. It's because it's rare that you will get a state actor going to jail, because usually the remedy for wrongdoing by the state actor is usually civil. Does that make sense?
I see it now. Yeah. If it's a civil matter, it's not criminal, exactly.
Mostly, it would be under the same pretexts, like police actually getting prosecuted. You see what I'm saying? Like it would be that same type of level grade of negligence. Any
Raymond, are we
questions?
aren't we giving them a parachute with arbitration?
Well, arbitration is a lot easier. Why?
Well, because of what you just said. Or you're asking me why arbitration's easier?
Yeah, because why would you think arbitration is easier than a civil suit?
I think a civil suit takes forever, for one thing.
1, 2. So expediency. What's 2?
2, I don't know. I would say the parachute, they want it out of their court.
Right. So it gives them less. The hell is this shit called? Embarrassment.
Easy exit.
It's cheaper.
Non-disclosure. That's right. It's cheaper. What else? Don't you guys think it's easier to point to terms and conditions of a contract than trying to remember every law? And as long as you write the terms and conditions within that contract that reflect legal remedy of the law, you could remember the story without remembering the chapter, verse, and scripture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a safety valve so that you guys don't fuck it up. You could say verbally, yeah, my contract says we go to arbitration at the American Arbitration Association. It's under 9 USC. And you guys infringed on my trademark. I sent your ass a cease and desist. These are the terms and conditions. You're bound as a non-signatory through assumption. That's that. Then you didn't pay me shit, and then you didn't cease and desist, huh? And for the continued use, you never completed portions of the contract, which is why I'm injured. So here's your breaches after the date that we made this contract where you were bound as a non-signatory. And then you show them the evidence past that 30 days, and that's it. And it's that plain language. It's that simple. Does that make sense?
Yep. I do have a question on the American arbitration. There's a lot of retired judges and attorneys on that. Does that make any difference when we're doing this?
1 second. I have somebody. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. All right. Say that one more time.
So with the Arbitration Association, there's a lot of retired judges or judges that do it on the side. Attorneys do it on the side or retired. Is that going to make a difference because they're all in bed with each other?
4 corners doctrine or 4 corners rule. That's all they're worried about. It's a different type of venue. So they're going to do their job to the best of their ability according to that venue, which is a competent jurisdiction. And do you know one of the biggest ways that sovereigns don't have immunity outside of simple commercial activity? Arbitration.
Okay,
They
makes sense.
never have immunity once it's arbitration. But they just have to be consenting. And there is a way to gather the consent. And that is binding of a non-signatory. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Trademark represents commercial activity
Mm.
on its face, which is why we take the name to make it a trademark. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There is no other reason that someone would use a trademark for any type of notoriety unless they're doing trade. And the minute that there's a transaction associated with the subject matter, the minute that the spear is activated,
Do we always reference a four corners rule when we're doing our pleadings?
You don't have to because it's done in arbitration. They're not allowed to bring in any type of parole or patrol evidence or whatever.
Is that all arbitration?
That's right. That's why we choose that toilet, because
Okay.
they're experts and not allowing you to try to bring in some new stuff. And we also do the documents only, no oral argument proceedings, which is built into our arbitration clause.
Mm.
Nobody
Did-
here ever looked. Go ahead.
I want you to finish what you're gonna say.
Nobody here's ever looked at the arbitration clauses inside of the cease and desist.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, can this work for every single, like a lot of
Yeah,
these
no-
companies
yeah.
have arbitration and then they don't choose that venue, but technically we could move for that and
Exactly.
broken terms and conditions.
Exactly. Sometimes they could have failed doing something in their contract. You could have defaulted. They could have you in civil court, and you could say improper venue. I moved to go to arbitration and show a breach that they committed before you defaulted and win the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant.
Mm.
Wow.
It's so brilliant, man.
Oh, wow. Bar.
I have a question though. That trust that you gave us, the 35-page one, I mean, not the trust, the cease and desist, that's the newest one, right?
I have one that's newer, but you don't need it. I just built it because I get bored and start finger painting.
No, yeah, I get it. I was just asking because you're bringing all up this non-arbitrary, the arbitration and stuff. And I noticed in the new one that you gave us, it has the option, whereas the other one, it didn't have the option, but this one, it has the option for them to back out of arbitration.
You mean an opt-out clause?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes.
No, you have to present an opt-out so that they can be bound as non-signatories. Here's the deal, killer. If they're going to continue to use that mark, then they agree to the arbitration. And if they don't, please communicate to us that you don't want to be bound to this contract. And then if they're like, well, I'm not going to do this, then you'll have to sue them in plain court, but they have to cease and desist using it. So either way, they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Now, if they continue to use it, but send you that they don't want to be bound to arbitration, they're not going to make it out of it if it's part of the continued use of your property. So they could say
Okay,
one
'cause I
thing
was so
and end up doing something else.
Gotcha. I thought the opt-out meant like they were able to choose which venue they would want to go to. I just looked at that as like, I want all the choices. But I get you.
Well, back to pleadings and back to arguments and mock trial. Do we know enough of the statutory remedy to even play with mock trial? No. What circumstances? We don't know. So now you've been given a mock pleading before we go into class and start doing any of that at a later or future date, especially under a common law trademark. Make sense? Now, that's one. Two, arbitration is easier because you're just going to plead whatever the hell is the terms and conditions. And due to the four corners rules, if they can't back it up with the term and condition in their rebuttal that allows for them to be saved from the breach, then it becomes parole evidence and then now they're just inserting crap. And the arbitration tribunal will not allow for it. Okay, they're going to say, well, whatever you're talking about doesn't exist in this contract. So therefore, go to hell. You will pay. Okay, so pleadings are a lot easier. The contract is a standalone inspection item, along with the evidences of the breach for the failure to perform. Anything else?
Raymond, if I've got a case and if it's a husband-wife case, that's two
Right,
trademarks.
It is.
Nice.
If I were any of you and I'm rolling around with trustees and you guys are cult-like, like Raymond, always put the trademarks in the trust that they operate or into a separate SPE that has co-exclusive licensing agreement. Co-exclusive licensing agreement. Co-exclusive licensing agreement. That way, both trusts under any circumstance can sue because they're both co-exclusive over that mark. So if one trust has veil piercing, the other trust still has a right under law to sue over it. They can still gambit the situation.
What's SPE?
Special purpose entity. That means you will build a trust that will its sole purpose of existing is just so trustees can hide in another hermit crab shell and attack. Make sense?
Yes.
Some people have Sunday cars. Does that stop it from being a car? Some people have Sunday cars. Does that stop it from being a car?
No.
That's right. Does the shit still go vroom?
So Raymond,
That's it.
we're putting,
Yep.
Thank you.
Raymond, when we're putting our trusts together, our irrevocable trust, can we make you a trustee?
No?
No.
You better freaking, yeah, not unless you hired me. Like, for example, cut the screen. All right. Do we want to take the rest of the time in class so that we don't get information overload to actually look at that Nike versus Mischief?
Yeah, let's do it if everybody else wants to, not just because of me, but I'd like to.
We did have a couple questions on the cease and desist. If we could ask a couple of those real quick before we go into that.
Let's do it.
Just for clarity.
Okay, let's ask it.
So on the page 2, it says the trust has established priority in the mark, given our use of the mark precedes your use due to the first instance of the mark used on the date. Now,
Okay, so hold on. I got your question.
Mhm. Go ahead.
So if you have a loan that exists before, you can establish your commercial interest with that mark. Does the loan people, do they control the mark? Or do they just have a name?
They just have the name.
So two things can exist at one time, correct and incorrect?
Correct.
Okay. So when on that loan did it ever mention that they are gaining your consent through that signature for the rights and use of your trademark?
Mm-hmm.
No. There are contracts that control the entire contract as their form of intellectual property, and there are clauses for that. But they never say that the mark of authorization from the human will also be a waiver and consent to use that mark as a trademark, existing as both. So that lack of specificity is exactly why the loan can exist between the human and the company, but that company never controlled that trademark ever, and the transaction still exists. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So then I would
So there are two different arguments. Does that make sense? Which are equally viable. Does that make sense? There are two different arguments which are equally viable. What is the first argument? There is consent over a contract. What is the second argument? Irrespective of the consent over the contract with the human, there's a trust that's pissed off that a transaction was conducted without its consent over a trademark, and it's not worried about the contents of anything outside of whatever violates that trademark. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
See, that is what I have to keep in mind. When I'm thinking of stuff, I have to keep that part in mind, that the trust is not worried about anything else that's going on between that person and whatever business y'all got going on. You getting paid for
That's
something
exactly.
that you get paid for.
That is exactly it. Switching devices.
So essentially, we're saying that, look what you're talking about. You didn't have permission to use this mark on whatever date.
Essentially, we are saying that.
Okay.
Essentially, we are saying that. Essentially, we are saying that. Essentially, we are saying that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so I'm finishing where I last heard it. Essentially, we are saying that. Keep asking the question.
Oh,
You.
goddess, I think he's talking to you.
It's a question?
Yeah, it was, he caught the bit where Sade said essentially they are concerned.
Yes, you must be bipolar. You must be halfway retarded and you must not let off. Look, you have to be so bipolar. Okay, Jesus. I don't want to be caught on camera saying this.
Cease and desist.
Ladies and gentlemen, now that we're recording, I have to allow you guys to know that I have lavender ferrets coming out of me, so I'm going to pass gas right now and shut my mic off. Amazing. What was your question?
What
Sure
what
it was,
are you
sure it was lavender?
It was lavender.
what are you referring to when you talk about the transition period for the infringer?
Transition period. What do you mean? Do you mean for the binding of the contract? They have 30 days. Okay.
So within that 30 days, they got as much time to get your name out as possible or something?
Because it's only 3 days that they have to cease and desist. So you got 30 days to fix it. Any cease and desist by statute, 3 days. Oh, you guys
So they
think I'm
pretty
making
much
this
have,
up? Mhm.
so the 30 days is for them to take all, like, stop using the name completely, like, destroy all documents and everything, I'm guessing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh,
Where does destruction of infringing articles exist? What remedy? Well, wait a minute. Let's go back to 1122, 15 U.S.C. 1122 and the waiver of sovereign immunity. And we look in subsection C and what happens? They start talking about destruction of infringing articles as one of the remedies, right? Injunctive relief has been another one, right? Who here does not remember seeing that day one?
I remember.
Good. So you're gonna ask them in that contract to do legally permissible remedial actions. Does that make sense? Because you're not asking them to do anything illegal. And if the context of your terms and conditions are legally permissible, then they will be enforced by the court. Make sense? Make
Yes.
sense?
Yep. Yep.
For Australia, it's typically 10 to 15 days.
Good. Make the
for
adjustment.
Cease and desist.
Amazing. Let's make that adjustment.
See, I have another question now that I think we're all still a little shady about. When it comes down to actually pricing for the license. When we was in study group-
Statutory relief allows for up to 2 million.
Yeah, but isn't that when you go to arbitration? You can't charge them 2
This
million.
is correct.
to
No,
use
no,
a-
no, 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 no. Listen. There's also a clause that absolves them from any liability upon destroying any further infringement. That is also a price. So what does the price come in? The form of what? Compensatory damages if there's a lack of performance. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes. If they don't do pretty much anything or lack thereof.
Okay, so let's say, that's right. So let's say I fucking work for a company. Let's say I fucking work for a company, right? And I'm doing, I don't know, sewage. And I breach whatever my performance is, and a whole piping and shit like that gets blown the hell up. Things get all damaged. Can I end up being in violation of any insurance policy and end up having to pay out of pocket? And if covered by the insurance policy, will that monetary sum be put there to restructure the performance or compensate for the lack thereof
Yes.
monetarily? Yeah, same shit.
That's if
See,
you
what
have
we're trying to-
insurance to cover it.
Mhm.
Right?
Say again?
Well, if you don't have insurance to cover it, then it's on you.
And they always have insurance.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I'm still like, so we could charge them 2 million for the license out the back.
For infringing willfully. The statute allows
see,
for
that's
the
not what I'm talking
maximum.
about. I'm not talking about willfully infringing. I'm talking about just for the license
That's
agreement.
the
For them
only,
to,
no. Look. We're talking a very specific thing, okay? We're talking a very specific thing, okay? Okay, let's try this again. We're talking a very specific action. Under 15 USC 1117, do you get the remedy over accidental infringement or willful infringement?
Willful.
How do you prove
Willful.
a willful infringement?
Continued use after the fact.
Mhm. So this is a very specific context I'm telling you here. I didn't say just go to somebody and be like, my shit's automatically, the stupid little thing in the sand is worth 2 million. You can't even bind a non-signatory without a willful assent through continued
right,
use.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about if they decide that they want to agree to the license agreement, what do we charge them for the name?
You charge them performance. That's what you do. Performance. Now, if it's another company, make up your price, but I wouldn't say 2 million. Your shit might not even be appraised at that much. And the only reason why it's
Right.
appraised at that much for willful infringement is because there's a statute that allows for the remedy.
Right, this is what I'm saying. This was happened about at least 2 weeks ago in study group where we was talking about that, and we was all just a little bit confused on how to start off, or what's the starting off point to even, if somebody does agree to run with your license.
Good, thank you. Hey, check this out. These are great questions. Don't get it twisted. I'm liking them. So, man, document filing only, no oral argument stops you from doing what to yourself? Because there's probably people up top that already get the words that are on that document, even though I've explained it right now. So that's your answer. But so even if you've missed what the hell we're talking about right now, you're never going to be inside of an arbitration room to put your foot in your mouth. And whatever that document says, those guys that are smarter than you and me, they agree with Raymond. Does that make sense? So they'll know why it's there. That's just to kill the ease or the, that's to ease the nerves for anybody who doesn't understand my answer. Yeah, amazing. So with that being said, the failure of performance according to the contract, along with the continued use, creates a willful infringement because it's behind a cease and desist. If you make it a term and condition of the contract, you secure the maximum of the statutory remedy. And because it's allowable by law, yet secured within the four corners, they can give you the maximum. That's how you secure that. If not, they would give you a fucking different form of approval for compensatory damages. So I learned how to maximize through the terms and conditions the maximum effect of the law. Does that make sense? By making it contractual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. That's how you get top dollar. Instead of whatever they want to give you. You don't give them room to wiggle. You just make it part of the contract. Any other questions?
Yes, I had a question. So let's say you're going after with a cease and desist after a mortgage. Let's say it's a certain bank like Bank of America, but you have